Welcome. So we are learning React.js application development. So before getting into the actual React.js development, let us learn some basics of the JavaScript, because React.js primarily a JavaScript library or maybe a framework to say. We need to have a clear idea about JavaScript first. I'm going to talk few things like few object types, or the way we create a function, the way we create a classes, and the subsequent examples we will see in JavaScript, so that will be very helpful for us to learn React.js. So for this example, I'm going to talk more on the JavaScript side, and we'll slowly get into the React.js. For this example, I have picked up that es6console.com, because we are going to use all es6 convention, and those who would like to know what is es6 and es5, there is a complete documentations available. The Wikipedia is there, you may go through it. Es6 as of now is a modern, and the standard is widely being used, so that a class based representation is available for a JavaScript, and also it adds various other functional benefits, the way we handle the object, the way we deconstruct the object. There are various benefits es6 add. Talking about what does ES6, ES5 may be beyond to the scope of our training program at this point. So we are going to quickly get into some data types, or the techniques we construct the object, the technique we create a function, what are all the other ways we can call and represent the function. So these are all the areas I am going to look at it today. So for example, in JavaScript, the keyword right now var is not used in ES6, instead a variable. So we are going to use let. And also there is a object type called constant available. Of course, in a constant the data never changes once created and assigned a value. So assume here, let me proceed with because I have no idea what kind of object I'm going to create. I'm going to create an object called student, maybe student A. In JavaScript, creating an object starts from the curly brace. Mean an object might have underlying properties. For in this example, a student might have a name property, value maybe something, and a roll number, there are various. For example, just a student might have various properties. In this example, I just thought, okay, the student is going to have a name, which is the Vasudev in this case, and roll number 121. So if you notice the object we construct here, so the property name and the property value, the name and the value follows, which is enclosed within the curly brace. This is the easiest way we construct an object in JavaScript. Okay, how we can access the properties? The most popular way as of now would be calling the object name and with the dot followed by the name, the property name. So I can access the value by calling the object and the underlying property name with the dot notation. Let's see how it is going. So I'm going to use the console log, so which prints the output in console. If you see that at the bottom there is a console state, maybe a tab or bar is there. So I'm going to use student. Okay, let me keep the console open. It has some sort of instruction. So okay, I'm going to hit run. If you see that the property name can be accessed, or of course in this way. So accessing the other property in this way. so this is a previous one, so all you just need to see the new values coming in. So there is a clear console, maybe Control L clears the console. Let me clear it. So let me run freshly. Okay, so see that. So constructing an object is simple with the help of a curly brace and the property name, or maybe property key and the value. So key value pairs or something, a name or value pairs, whatever way we can understand. If you see, this is the way. If you see that the left hand side, the property name, where it comes, I don't use quotation within quotation, whereas the value I define, if it is a string within quotation, if it is a number, I'm directly using it. Okay, what are all the way we can deconstruct an object? Of course we print it here, and there is one more way we can also deconstruct an object, assuming it has the properties called name. So if I define in this way, so student A, as we know, is an object, and in that it creates a name variable by reading the property which is called name here. So if you see that, now I can simply call a name. Let me clear it. Okay, let me run this one. And we see that the output is still being taken. So I can deconstruct an object in this way. So let me uncomment this to avoid the confusion. Okay. Okay. You see that I can deconstruct an object, deconstruct an object in this way. So the name property exists in the student object. So I can simply write this way. So let being a variable declaration, and within the curly brace it tells, okay, find a property called name inside this object and treat it as a variable, and that's how it works. Okay, how do I get the roll number also? So I can write this way. The values. Oh, sorry. So let me clear it. Just give some misconception that it is printing from something else. I get both the values. Yes, I can pick the required properties alone rather than the unwanted stuff. So say the roll number. So it will try to identify a property within the student object, student A object, find a property roll number and treat it as a variable here. So let me print this, whether it's coming in. Yes, I do get it. So I can deconstruct an object this way also. And of course, the previous way, just simply call the object name and access the property. That's another way to display or put the object into use. But if you really want to deconstruct it as an individual variables, you can deconstruct in this way. Okay, so this is a simple way of creating an object in JavaScript. Okay, since we have seen a object, it's a time to create maybe an array. So yeah, let me clean this up. Clean the terminal. Okay. Creating an array is pretty simple. Like we created an object with a curly braces, creating an array with the help of a square brackets. So an array can be set of same data types. For example, in this case, string. So like this. So I can access them with the given index. So I'm going to access indexes start from 0 as we know. So the first index 0, 1. So I can expect an output coming this way. In JavaScript, arrays are mutable. Mutable in the sense the arrays are by default indexed and can also be sorted, added. I can expand an array. I can remove the items from an array and can reindex it. The reindex will be done by the system or the compiler itself. So it's a mutable array to start with. So for example, I would like to add an item to an array. Let's see what all the items are there in the array. We see everything. Okay. Uh, since we are going to learn React.js, React.js has a kind of a requirement sometime. It requires immutable objects in order to render that object into the view. I'll get back to that in little detail. Sometime you might be required to create a copy of an array so that it can be modified and create a new array. So in this case, the students array was just modified in order to add an additional item or entry. So it's the same object with one additional entry got added. But what if I want to create a new item, or in sometimes like how we can produce? So that kind of scenarios might emerge. So I can create a copy of a new array in this way with a triple dot. So this produces a copy of this array. So I can get the same value, but it's a different copy. So to create a copy, we can simply use this way to produce a copy of an array. I purposefully write this sequence or this particular statement because we'll be using it quite in detail in React.js, because React.js has a render function, so it would require immutable objects in order to render. So by default the arrays are mutable, and sometimes if we modify the value of an array, uh, so sometimes the render might not work. So for that purpose I'm just introducing at this point an array can be created in this way. And of course I can also add new entries in this way. For example, so what it will do the same thing like a push. What it did, it added an item to the end of an array. So with this array, it will add a new entry and produce a new array. So let me clear it and see that. Okay, if you want to add to the beginning of an array, it's pretty simple. So we'll add at the beginning the array value get added. Remember, so this is an array which has certain values along with 1, 2, 3, 4, and it adds a new entry to this array and produces a copy. I mean, it is a new array. So the students A, typically it's not the same as student. So it's a different array. It produces a new array. Okay. So this is the way we can create an array. Of course, arrays can also be created with a combination of objects. So the first entry, so the array can also be created this way. So it's an array of objects as we see. So let me print it. See this object. Of course, I can access them as we already know. We can get the index. I'm going to use the index 1 and the property of that particular item of that particular array, for example roll number. So I'm just going to access the index 1, so 0 1. So there is a object exists in the index 1 and that I'm going to access a property called roll number. So let me run. Yeah, I can access in this way. If you really want to deconstruct, you still have the same way what we talked. So maybe index 2. And access clear it. You see that. So the inner properties or the array items can be accessed with the given index, and of course those properties of the given indexed object can be accessed in various ways. So I deconstructed the object or the property name roll number in this way. So what we have seen now is how to create an object, how to create an array. So going ahead, I'm going to mix both the thing, and I'm going to create some more concepts. So I'm going to, explain a few more concepts based on that. Means I'm going to create an object called a student. Remember the singular word student, and I'm going to create another object called students, which is an array. And so in this case, the combination of student object or maybe the multiples of the student object put together inside an array, so we create a students object. So we can denote data with the help of an object and array. So what we have done, a simple example and trying to access those properties of the given JavaScript object or the object residing inside a array. That's it. Going ahead, we are going to talk a few more things about JavaScript, and especially I would like to talk about something on the context, how the context behave in JavaScript, and of course some example on how to write a function in JavaScript. So we are learning some basics on JavaScript. So we are using es6console.com to test and verify how the object and arrays behave or can be put into use in JavaScript. As part of React.js application development, I'm covering few basics of JavaScript which is required for React.js application development. Okay, now so far what we have seen is creating an object and creating an array, and of course array of a string or array of an object, we have seen it, and also we know how to deconstruct an object. So fine, so let's create something or maybe something new. In this example we are going to cover something about JavaScript functions. So let me clear the console ready for me. Creating a JavaScript function is pretty simple. This way we can create a function. The keyword function probably we won't be using it quite much, but just to give an idea, creating a JavaScript function is simple. The name of the function or any parameters which is going to take, and within the curly brace the statements of the function would be placed. So a function may have just lines to be executed, or a statement which would return something. So with a return statement. So how I can access the function? All I just need to call the function, and with the uh, uh, parenthesis. So once I call, and I can expect an output to come. The output is coming within the console log just because it has a return statement. If not, if there is no return statement, the console statement itself all we need to just call the name, so that that execution happens within the function block. Within the curly brace, the statement will be executed. So once I call it, let me clear it, I can expect an output to come. Okay, creating a function is pretty simple, but we are going to recall everything now. So along, like, we are also going to see the function how it can be put into use. As we know, we created an object. So let me create an object, say student, maybe student A. I'm going to create multiple student objects. So student A. Okay, so say it has a couple of properties. Assume first name, okay, let's keep them one by one so that it looks better. Okay, okay, now it's going to have a property called subjects, which in turn has an array. As we know, an object could be of any combination. So it's a string. The first name property is a string. Last name property is also a string. Roll number is a number. The subjects, because a student might be learning multiple subjects, so that probably like that I can represent. So I represent an object in this way. So I construct an object with following properties. Okay, and to make a little bit complex, the subject, along with that, I'm going to keep an object in turn inside, because not only the subject, so I'm going to say subject and the mark the student take on each subject also we can put into use. So a subject is an array, in turn has a JavaScript object which has a property, a subject, as well as the mark of the given student. Let me create a couple of things. Oh, sorry. Similarly, then there are multiple source subject. Let's make it more readable. Okay. So we constructed an object with following properties. The student here has a property first name, last name, roll number, subjects. In this, the subject is an array of object because it has the students, each subject as well as the marks taken by the student. Now, I may require another object, say total. This property has a dependency over the existing property, especially this particular array, because the total is nothing but the consolidated value of the given array having a mark property. So we need to add all these marks taken by individual marks taken by each subject by the student in each subject. So this total, to make it, I'm going to introduce a function. So a function, I can straight away, as we said, the JavaScript can have anything as a value. For example, first name being a string, last name being another string, the roll number being a number, subject being an array. Total can also be a function. So function in JavaScript can also be used as an object. So here the function which is going to calculate the given value. So let's return the value. Okay, here I'm doing a couple of things, so I'm just going to calculate everything. Notice already I may have may have to add everything. Okay, so a function which is nothing but total is a property which is a function type object which will calculate the subject's individual marks this way. As we know that the subjects is an array which is within that particular object can do the calculation. So here, so let's see how it behaves. So first thing, let's see what is the total, since we are using console. So within the student A object, I need to access the total. So total is a function, so make sure you call this way because total is a function. Okay, let's see how it's going to behave. I didn't get expected output. The obvious reason, because I purposefully wrote in this way. The subjects is an array elements which is part of this student object. So the function does not know where these particular subjects are located. So we need to tell it is located within this object. So this subject is located within this object. So within this particular curly brace to say particularly. So the subjects is an array. It's located within this particular object. So once we give this keyword and run, we get a value. So the function expects the object calling of the given context. So the context means the place where the object is located. So in this case, the subjects, the array which is located in the given context, the student A context. So within the student A context, these subjects are residing. So now calling this particular keyword, the keyword this dot and denoting the individual objects. So remember, I'm only interested on mark property. I don't need the subject. Maybe we'll get subject, something like this. So in this case, the total is calculated and in the way. So a function can also be used as a object in JavaScript. So a total is a type function. Remember, if you don't call this, it just you're calling an object, and which won't have an execution block. So just an object, and which is going to see, we see that the whole function is getting displayed. So you make sure the execution of the function happens, so by providing this. So I'm just calling the function, so the values could be printed this way. So I constructed a complex object at this point, like I built a function and kept the function inside an object.